cost of medication for millions of Americans. And to bring down energy costs, we will give working families as much as $8,000 to upgrade their HVAC system in their home, which means, of course, lower energy bills and cleaner air. And we will also make new and used electric vehicles thousands of dollars cheaper so that more people can afford to plug in a hybrid or electric car, and that, of course, means paying less or even nothing in terms of gas. Right.
A key relief measure that affects the finances of millions of Americans is about to expire, creating financial uncertainty at a time where the economy is slowing and interest rates are on the rise. The pause in student loan debt payments is set to end after August, leaving millions of Americans who owe student loan payments anxious and worried. According to the Federal Reserve, the average student loan payment is around $393 a month. The temporary pause in repayments helped Americans pay for necessities and stay afloat during the economic downturn and steep layoffs caused by the crisis. The current average federal student loan debt in the United States is $38,000. Inflation reaches highest in 40 years, and those having to pay back their student loans don't have the financial security or excess money to fall back on. President Biden is now considering whether to extend a pause on payments. The moratorium on payments has been extended several times already. In addition, he's considering outright forgiveness of some student loan debt. He has not made a decision on student loan forgiveness, however, and the Department of Education has a protocol in place if he does. Huge news has been released, and a big raise has just been approved. Millions of people will see an increase to their monthly benefit checks very soon. Several lawmakers have made important changes to benefit payments this year. Now, more than 41 million Americans have to rely upon the SNAP program to just get enough to eat. The program enables eligible individuals and families to buy staples such as fruits and vegetables. And according to the Center on Budget and Priorities, SNAP benefits play a key role to helping reduce both hunger and food insecurity. Research shows that almost 90% of families on SNAP live in households with children, elderly adults, and/or disabled adults. Children under 18 make up almost half of those on SNAP at 43%, and about 90% of those on SNAP live at or below the poverty line. There is also a significant portion of workers who are employed but are making wages too low to afford their food needs. To accommodate economic impacts, including the crisis, inflation, and financial hardships, SNAP benefits increased this year. And the Texas Health and Human Services Commission has announced that the state will be providing more than $300 million in emergency SNAP benefits for the month of August. The Texas governor has announced the extension in a press release. The benefits are expected to help more than 1.5 million Texas households.
Estimates put the starting cost to a small business of being audited in the range of $10,000 to $75,000. Ridiculous. That is the last thing our small businesses need, the vast majority of whom follow the law. They're law-abiding individuals and law-abiding businesses. My amendment makes the following changes to the bill. It strikes the $45 billion for enforcement activities, which include legal and litigation support, digital asset monitoring, and enforcing criminal statutes. Those are audit activities. It strikes $25 billion for operation support, which includes rent payments, printing, postage, and other administrative activities to support the new auditors. It also strikes $104 million for the Office of Tax Policy at IRS, the office which creates new tax regulations. It strikes $153 million for the U.S. Tax Court, where cases related to these new audits would be heard. And it strikes $50 million for Treasury to implement these changes. Now let me tell you what this amendment would not do. This amendment leaves in place $3.2 billion for taxpayer services to help address the backlog of nearly 20 million unprocessed returns. We agree this backlog is a serious problem and taxpayers need better customer service. It leaves in place $4.8 billion for badly needed IRS systems modernization. According to CBO, the bill would still reduce the deficit if we adopt this amendment while leaving every other provision of the package intact. Unless there are Senate Democrats who believe auditing families and small businesses is the single most important part of this bill, they should have no problem expeditiously passing it again. And because we would only make in order this one single amendment if we defeat the previous question, it will only delay final passage of the bill by about 20 minutes. Mr. Speaker, I have many serious concerns about this bill, and the rule makes an order, which I will discuss later. I find it particularly troubling that Democrats think auditing thousands more American families and small businesses.
It is official, everybody. There is a new type of stimulus check that has been launched recently, and there are billions of dollars in stimulus relief funds available just for you. So in this video, I'll be discussing the most important news on how to claim your stimulus check information. A ton of updates are going on, and I want you to know this. Monthly checks for $1,000 are now being issued as part of a further economic relief to address the crisis continuing to be faced by many people. The monthly checks from last year happened for a year and a half in New York State through the Creative Rebuild New York program. In Los Angeles, California, the same amount will be distributed for 3 years through the BREATHE program. For the stimulus relief program in Los Angeles, the call for applications to the program began on March 31st. People over the age of 18 who have been financially hit by the crisis are residents of LA's middle-class neighborhoods and are not enrolled in other universal basic income programs can apply, as long as their income does not exceed the set income threshold. And this is really huge for people that live in Los Angeles. I know right now it can be a very difficult time for many of you guys. Now, not only in Los Angeles and New York, people are receiving stimulus checks, but also in the city of Chicago. There are other relief programs that are being established by state and local governments. For example, the Chicago mayor, alongside city leaders, announced this week that prepaid gas cards will be made available to qualifying Chicagoans amid rising gas prices. In a press conference, the mayor said that the Chicago Moves program will dedicate about $12.5 million to help Chicago residents with transportation options as they continue to deal with inflation. Once the program is passed by the city council, about 150,000 Chicago households will receive assistance. And I definitely support this bill, and I definitely think it's a great idea that some states, some cities, are giving their residents stimulus checks. Do you think it's a good idea, folks? Tell me in the comments down below. So far, the IRS has actually issued more than 169 million payments in the third round of stimulus aid. Now, with the $1,400 stimulus checks reaching most people, so far the federal response to the economic crisis caused by the crisis has paid out $3,200 to eligible adults, $1,200 under the CARES Act in March 2020, and $600 in December relief measure. But many advocates and lawmakers are pushing for a fourth round of stimulus aid. That would effectively send recurring payments until the crisis ends. Many lawmakers have actually picked up the idea of recurring stimulus checks, and that is definitely a great idea. 21 senators, all Democrats, wrote a letter to President Biden in support of recurring checks, pointing out that the $1,400 payments that were redistributed by the IRS only provided temporary relief. And the group of lawmakers included a broad range of Democrats, from moderates to progressives. The lawmakers did not specify, though, how large and frequent the payment should be. In a separate Democratic effort led by Representative Omar of Minnesota, with more than 50 House members, also pushed for recurring payments for the duration of the crisis at least. In a tweet, Representative Omar specified